Now, apparently, Ruben Amorim's relationship with Marcus Rashford has deteriorated to the extent that Manchester United's head coach only speaks to the player when addressing the squad generally. That's what Jamie Jackson has said in today's Guardian. Amorim claimed after the Fulham game that he'd rather put his 63-year-old...
Like, he actually did.
He did, yeah.
This is actually from there.
For the first time, Rory's actually right. But yeah, after the game, Amorim said that he would rather put his 63-year-old goalkeeping coach on the bench ahead of Rashford. And speaking a little earlier, the former England midfielder Danny Murphy thinks that Amorim made a mistake in calling him out. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty brutal, isn't it, from Amorim? He has made some pretty brutal comments so far about the team generally, I think. But with Rashford, I mean, that makes it quite personal when he really is attacking that attitude of the player. Now, it might be something that some fans want to hear from their manager, but in terms of how it looks for the club and with the way going forward with Marcus Rashford, they want to conduct themselves. Do you feel it was a mistake from Amorim?
I see those sides. I've been going back and forth with my co-host about this because there is a large portion of Man United fans where we're like, absolutely, call out the behaviour, no more protection for Marcus Rashford, let everybody, no PR spin from his camp or anything like that, just let it be known what you're seeing. That's one side of it. That's the fan side of it when we're saying we're not seeing him trying, he's not probably living right, etc., for some of the issues. But as soon as I heard that, I'm not going to lie, my point of view was, okay, this is a really difficult window to shift Marcus Rashford in. Why is it difficult? Because of the economic value that he represents with his contract, right? And how difficult it is for teams around Europe to get hold of him. That's already going to be a sticking point for many clubs around Europe. They also know he's not in great form, hasn't been playing well for the last however long, right? So they also know that.
It's already difficult.
So it's already difficult. And a lot of our Man United fans will argue that the damage has been done already. People around Europe know he's not playing well. They know he went to Belfast. They know this. And right, great. But as the time's ticking down, right, the last little bit of something that they go, well, maybe we could get into his head and just maybe get a player out of him. You've just gone, by the way, you can't even do that. Rather put 60-year-old on the bench than him. So for me, as a fan, I'm like, yeah, call it out. I get that. But sometimes we have to remove that fan sentiment, even though we're frustrated with what we're seeing and it's been despicable by his application and his attitude. That's one thing. But like you said, he's already out the squad for 11 games he's missed. That says everything that needs to be said. So I just think Ruben has unintentionally, he has basically just removed that last little bit of like a club going, we can maybe get something out of him. Let's tap into him though. Maybe he's ready for it. And I just feel like I don't think that helps right now.
I think as well, the other point is with any of these deals, it now just gives a licence to any team that is still interested in Rashford, and there will be teams out there, and there's still a chance that this deal does happen before the end of the window, but they will wait right to the end.
Absolutely,
to the end,
because
they know
we're going to get desperate,
Rashford's
going to get desperate, etc., etc. And that's exactly it. It doesn't help the situation, because now other teams are going to look and say, like I said, no matter what it is, Man United cannot have him there past that window. So when it gets to 2 hours left of the window, they might accept a real low ball offer. I'll tell you what, we could go in there really cheap. The manager absolutely doesn't want to have him there. And look, the pushback again is, so what, Flex? We know Marcus Rashford's awful. His price is rock bottom anyway. But you got to remember, this is a sellable asset for Manchester United. A tangible sellable asset, right, that represents 100% pure profit with PSR, and Marcus Rashford's Man United future looks like it's going to be no more.
He's made him captain of the bomb squad, hasn't he?
100%. So if you think about it, we still have to try and get something for him, no matter what it is. It's pure profit. So each little bit you're chipping away at that matters.
Can't you just imagine the Manchester United board when those comments came out, just having their heads in their hands?
Well, I'll tell you why, because and this is what I really like Ruben Amorim. I really, really like him. And when you talk like this, some fans are like, oh, you just not patient for the rebuild, you're on the manager. No, we can talk about things that are happening, right? Literally only last week, Ruben had to retract the worst ever statement by saying, listen, I'm a young guy. I maybe shouldn't have said it like that in this forum. You offered up a nugget. You offered up a nugget for the media and the press and the fans and the podcasts and people like me on Fan Channel who we all talk about this. You offered that and said, I'm going to give this to you, and then said, shouldn't have done that. The very next week of apologising, you've basically, in the last question of the presser as well, you've said what you need to say, and the journo's gone to the Marcus Rashford thing, and you've given him another nugget. And literally against Brighton, I want to say, someone asked him about Rashford. You know what he said? He said, I don't want to talk about play. Marcus didn't play today. Like, let's not... that's not right. Don't try and scapegoat him again. Like, he didn't even play. The ones who lost this game against Brighton is the ones who... They were awful. Yeah. Speak about them. So, we won against Fulham. Maybe just say, don't want to talk about players. Maybe it's not here. We won. And I just think that would have just put a lot of cold water over it. But instead, now, a few days later, we're here doing this.
He's gone looking for it. That's the strange thing.
But at the same time, though, sorry, as a fan, I'm not going to lie. It makes me like him more. But I am able to think of the bigger picture away from it. And I can like him more for doing that because he's got his heart on his sleeve. He's saying, listen, I ain't seeing what I want to see, so I'm just going to say it as it is. Fine. But in the establishment, like what Danny's saying there about what's best for the club, what Julio used to do, you have to consider that.
I think it's interesting as well when he's addressed the team more generally. It has actually brought out reaction from them. You know, he said they were in a relegation fight. They went did well against Anfield, worst ever team. They went and won after that. So at times it has worked for him. But I think this time around, I think when you look at that wider picture in terms of what it means for selling Marcus Rashford, or at least moving him out, it hasn't helped at all.
It doesn't help that.
Maybe you get some bids for the 63-year-old goalkeeping coach. AC Milan with a late loan move.
100%, considering he's good enough to be on the bench.
Amazing.
He's good enough to be on the bench at Man United. It means you're an awfully good keeper.
Does it? Not at the moment, mate.
Ask Tom Heaton, mate. Top keeper.
Oh, my word. There is a bit of business that they're looking to do, though. Dorgu coming in, left wing back. Do you feel that is a certain area in particular, especially with the way Ruben Amorim plays, that will be a good signing for them?
Yes, it's so essential to have like top fullbacks or fullbacks who fit the bill stylistically to what Ruben wants in this system. Diogo Dalot just hasn't been able to do it. There's no other way to dress it up. He's a competent footballer. He had a really good season last year on an individual, even though the team was poor. But that adaptation from right back to left wing back has not worked. Ahmad's shown that he can adapt. He's played well at right wing back when asked to, done really well. Mazraoui at right wing back,
he's in a back three for me.
100%. Right centre back's probably his, or left centre back's probably his best position in this. Competent footballer, can do a job on a defensive side of it, even at right wing back, but going forward, it's not for him. So we've needed somebody there instantly, and we haven't been able to have it. So I can understand why that is a matter of priority. Luke Shaw featured a couple of games for Amorim, but at left centre back he can't even do that type of running anymore, and he's only just come back from injury and don't know how long that's going to last. And Malacia out of a long-term injury himself, but probably isn't up to the task. So yeah, Man United absolutely needed a player of this profile. £25 million as well, with 5 million in add-ons which are quite difficult to achieve apparently. So best part of 25 million quid. And if you
what are they, the add-ons come top 10, is it?
That might be Ballon d'Or, mate. Might be Ballon d'Or.
Maybe, you never know.
But the thing is with those add-ons, because people will go, they spent 30 million. No, Man United spent 25 million. And if they have to spend an extra 5 million, it would be because that signing really worked and he was really good. So yeah, 25 million for a young up and coming player, 20 years of age, played 4 times for his country, played about 50 odd times for Lecce. He looks bright, but the track record and strike rate of Man United signings,
does it all change today?
It makes you feel like, as a fan, you just think, well, I'll have a look at him when he gets here.
Yeah, that's very true. Very, very true.
Not getting too excited.
No, you never can. In terms of other news off the pitch, though, there have been some headlines about a potential new stadium. Obviously, this has been in the works for a long time, but Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, has given the green light to redevelop the area around Old Trafford. Do you feel that finally this is a bit of a PR win for Ineos?
Yes, in terms of I think the best thing to do would be to build a new stadium from scratch. I see why some people think redevelop it and they want to stay at that stadium and make it the best it can be. But I think if you're getting the chance to really do this properly to the best that it can be, I think 100,000 seater stadium, best in Europe, definitely, obviously the best in the Premier League. That's what Man United should be aspiring to. Last time I checked, that's what we were the heart of. We were definitely the biggest and the best club in England, and alongside Real Madrid and your Barcelona in Europe, and we've fallen way below that standard. Like you say, I know we always have a laugh, and people always laugh at us with the roof leaking and this stuff. That it's embarrassing though. Like when you think about what Man United stands for and what Man United is as an institution in sport, it's not just football, an institution in sport, to be failing food hygiene tests, or there's rats and there's the roofs leaking and it just looks tired. Like it shouldn't be happening. So
and 100,000 seats.
100,000. It'd be incredible.
Biggest stadium in the country.
Yeah, and look, it does need to. I think some people are scared because it's like don't take the soul out of the stadium. It has to be built in a certain way that still has the specifications that aren't too corporate and aren't too commercial. I get that, but at the same time, we have to evolve. It's adapt or die, and Man United has been dying. Let's be honest, it's been a slow death.
Despite obviously the green light with that and the good news surrounding that, and we know that's going to take a while. I've really got to ask you about the ticket price situation, because a lot of fan groups wrote to the club and said, look, the rise to £66, not just for the average ticket, but to get rid of concessions as well. So every ticket at the moment is £66 at Old Trafford. That's for children, that's for pensioners as well. That is not a good look, I don't think, for the club at all. That they responded and they said as well, they said, we understand and we don't want fans to pick up all of the cost for what's going on, and then essentially said, but we do need to look at the ticketing strategy and started to blame things like PSR. But I just think that's not a good look, especially from a club who have wasted so much money. 100%. Whether it's the sacking of Ten Hag, whether it's the Ashworth situation. What do you make of that, that as well?
Ineos have proved with some of their bad decisions that they are now complicit in some of this bad spending. So you're coming at a time when you're supposed to have come in and begin to unpick this, because I don't expect you to the 20 years just about of the Glazers' mismanagement that Ineos come in and fix it straight away. I don't expect that. But by coming in and making bad decisions financially, you're now complicit in this. So to ask the fans, well, they didn't even ask. There wasn't even a consultation. You just went to the website one day and it was 66 quid all round. And for concessions and younger children, it's awful. It really, really is awful. And I'm not naive. Again, there's the fan in us, right, where we're like, absolutely not, that's awful. But then there is like the reality of how bad the club is and where it's at. So it's like, where do you start? You have to you have to do something to stem this bleed, right? But you got to get rid of players. They're trying to force out Marcus Rashford. He's on load. You got to get rid of Casemiro. You got to get rid of Anthony. You have to undo the sins of the past, right? But to not even have a consultation with fans and just say it's 66 quid and expect, like I said, people who have retired, young kids who are under 16 to be 66 pounds. It's a travesty, mate. Yeah. It really, really is. And to Jim Ratcliffe's point at the when you got confronted about it is, Fulham shouldn't have higher season tickets, higher ticket prices than United. I need to look at that essentially. Wow, Fulham's an amazing place to live, mate. It's a different climate, like Southwest London. But also that doesn't just give you the green light to just put prices up without consulting fans.
Yeah, and it feels out of touch. It really does feel out of touch, that.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.